Hi everyone and welcome back. I've got another cool video today about why your ball python might be trying to escape. And as my co-host, I'm very lucky to have Jerry here, who is an acid pastel. And like I say, every time I do a video now, I sort of take an opportunity to show off one of my favourite snakes. But I don't know how well the camera's focusing, but look at the belly on Jerry. I think that is absolutely awesome. He's making himself into a weird shape because he's trying to wrestle me, but that is a really cool pattern and a really cool gene all round, to be fair. So yeah, Jerry's going to help me out in his own way today. Basically, today's video is about not just identifying, why your ball python might be trying to escape, but identifying when it's unhealthy behaviour, when their attempts to escape are constant, and when it's a cause for you to go a little bit further and investigate, what is actually happening. So the first thing I'll say is that, escaping for snakes, I just did a video about how to find your escaped ball python, because escaping is normal. It's normal behaviour. They want to escape sometimes, they feel like it, they try and get out, and that's something they're going to do. And also, they're nocturnal, mostly, ball pythons. So if your snake is escaping at night, that is pretty normal behaviour. When it's abnormal is when you have a ball python which is constantly trying to escape and not resting. It's not sleeping, it's coming out during the day, it's not hiding like it should, and its escape behaviour is becoming just basically repetitive. And that's a point when it is getting unhealthy, and there's something not quite right with the husbandry, or possibly even with the snake's health. Sometimes I will get this happen with my snakes. I'll go into the reasons why. Sorry, Jerry's trying to strangle me again. He's a very strong snake for his size. But what I wanted to say first off was that the most common reason for a ball python to be trying to escape all the time is stress. And it's really important for us as owners to get to grips with identifying stress-induced behaviour in our animals, because there's a common misconception with ball pythons that if they're active, if they're climbing, if they're trying to escape, it means they love their vivarium, they're happy and they're exploring. Now, ball pythons are typically, sometimes they forage, they do a bit of foraging, but mostly they are ambush predators. And the fact that they have such a slow metabolism, that they're able to fast for such long periods of time, and that they're able to rapidly gain stores of fat when they do get a glut of food, really points to the fact that they are ambush predators and they are adapted to this way of life. Now, ambush predators, they do like to conserve energy, and they do like to lie in wait for their prey. They like to use sudden bursts of energy to grab a rat. This is a 1 minute wrestling match or less we're talking about, and that's the way they like to use energy. If they have to forage for food, they'll do it all night, but that's not their preference. It really isn't. So if your snake is constantly active and it's not resting, there is something going on, and you need to find out what it is. And often stress is a factor. It often comes from things like being put in a high traffic area of the house, being exposed to bright light at night, having an enclosure that is too large or not cluttered enough is a really common one. I've had so many people with baby ball pythons put them straight into 4-foot long vivariums with lights on 12 hours a day, and then come back to me a month later and say, it stopped feeding, what do I do? And I'll say, well, you need to make the vivarium more cluttered, cover up most of the sides and most of the front, or even put it into a tub for a while to get it comfortable and confident as it grows. And oftentimes I'm not going to do that, they love climbing. So it's a really tough one to deal with, but always look at stress as your first option. And stress often does come from the environment, so start there. If you have to put your snake into a tub because it's young, you can grow the snake to a certain size and then upgrade the tub later and then put it in a vivarium. There's nothing to stop you. It doesn't have to be tub or vivarium or PVC or rack. You can do whatever you want. as long as the snake's eating and it's happy and it's not restless, it's resting rather, I wanted to say, then you can house it in whatever you want. So that's kind of the stress sort of side of things covered. After that, what I would say is the second most common culprit of excessive restlessness and escape attempts is being too warm. Reptiles like pythons are, a lot of people say they're ectothermic, but they're kind of closer to being poikilothermic, really, which means that they have trouble regulating, creating endogenous heat inside their body. It's exogenous, the heat they use for all their metabolic functions, and even down to the functioning of their immune system. So basically, they want to move themselves to an area where the temperature suits them for whatever process they're going through, digestion, resting, etc. So if they are too warm, they'll try to move to a cooler area. If there's not a cooler area, this causes, again, stress, and they'll keep trying to move to a cooler area. If it takes them an hour, a day, a month, a year, whatever, they'll do that. And oftentimes you will find that, yes, they will stop eating at the same time. So it's really important that you get the temperature correct. Get it to that nice, 88 to 91 Fahrenheit range in the warm end, and then a good, I'm going to say 85 in the cool end. And double check it with a digital thermometer under the hide, and then double check it with a thermometer gun as well, an infrared thermometer gun. These are really handy for just pointing it and getting a quick surface temperature reading. And they're nowhere near as expensive as they used to be. I think I found one for, something like 15 UK pounds recently, which is something like $20 US. And that's nothing when it comes to double checking your temperatures and keeping the animals safe and happy, really. So really do try and get your temperatures in the warm spot to the correct range. Have a digital thermometer probe underneath the hide, underneath the substrate, and then double check again several locations around the enclosure with an infrared thermometer gun. Just, it feels like it's going over the top, but do go over the top when it comes to temperature, because that is the main thing that can prevent stress and disease, is making the animal feel comfortable. After that, I guess the one that I get in my collection, even though I think I've got my husbandry pretty good, I still get restless snakes trying to escape. The one I get is males that want to breed. And Jerry here he's not too bad with that. He does try to escape. He's been trying to get to the ladies lately. It's December in the UK right now. It's winter in the UK right now. It's December. And he has been trying, but he's not been too bad. But some of my other males, Spot, who is a really big spot-nosed clown, I think he's probably over 4 foot now, he does try to escape constantly, and he gets really, really wound up, really pissed off if he can't get to the females. Another one I have, a pewter male prince. He will try to escape the whole breeding season, sometimes 3 months on end. There's been periods in the past where he's not slept for 24, 48 hours because he can smell females. And he's a serious breeder. Like, he always gets the job done. He's quite obsessive. And then after a few months, when the females are no longer producing follicles and they've gone through their cycle, he calms down again, he starts eating again, he stops trying to escape. So do take breeding into consideration with adult snakes. If your snake isn't an adult, then you can cross this one off your list. But males trying to escape and get to females is, that's pretty normal. There's not much you can do about it, really. But I would say if you do have your males constantly trying to escape during the months of, anywhere from September to, even February perhaps, if you have got females in the house, that probably is the reason why. So just double check the temperature and other stuff, but do keep this in mind. Another one here, which kind of annoys me as well, is your snake might be trying to escape because it's extremely hungry. And there's been a lot of articles published online about not overfeeding your ball python, about how you should only feed adults once a month, etc. And it's just not possible to have a checklist like that, to have guidance set in stone for a living animal. Jerry right now, he's happy I can feed him a medium rat, I'd say, a month, and that is perfectly fine for him. He's not, like I said, he's not going crazy over breeding. He's not a particularly big guy, and he's a male. Likewise, I've got Females right now that are building follicles, which need feeding a medium rat every week, and if they don't get it, they are going crazy, they are getting distressed. Because they're building follicles, they feel that they need the food to provide more energies for that follicular growth. And, you know, all that to say, if your snake is acting extremely hungry, give it some food. Just because someone online positions themselves as an expert and says, hey, you should only feed these snakes once a month, because that's what happens in the wild, you know, where they're starving and full of parasites and have a pretty rough life, you know, that's not something you need to follow in captivity. Remember that in captivity we're supposed to be making the animals comfortable and happy, not hungry, stressed, upset, you know, trying to get some food desperately because they think they need to breed. They don't know if they're not going to breed, you know, they still think they need to. So just let them have a bit more food if they seem extremely upset. You know, that seems pretty much common sense to me. You know, with living creatures, you can't stick to written rules and set guidelines like that. It just doesn't work. It's not appropriate. You know, you need to get to know your animal and, you know, give it food when it really needs it. Likewise, they might fast for the rest of the year. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Last but not least, another reason why your snake might be constantly trying to escape could be because it's sick or because it's infected, or infested, I should say, with parasites. And I've done a video on this, on how to give your snake a health check, to check it over from, I was going to say head to toe, but head to tail, and make sure there's no visible signs of illness. So if you really can't figure out why your snake is constantly restless, constantly moving, constantly trying to get out, do give it this health check in the video, as I've shown you how. Make sure you don't see any outward signs of lumps, scrapes, scab-like areas, scales that have vesicles or bubbles underneath them that might weep, bubbling around the mouth, wheezing, unusual body posture, you know, stargazing, staring straight up, stuff like that. Check for all these kind of signs and symptoms. If you find anything, contact an exotics vet or a breeder. Now I know breeder is a dirty word in the reptile hobby for some strange reason these days, but breeders like to keep their animals alive because they can't breed them if they're dead. So if you have a problem like mites or respiratory infection, it is a good idea to check in with a local breeder and see what they say. For something like a respiratory infection, you probably will still need to get to an exotic veterinarian, and it's always best to get to one with experience because they know how to dose the antibiotics. And also, if you're worried about parasites like snake mites, remember that snake mites are black, round. If I remember rightly, they're kind of, I'm going to say maybe a millimetre big, and the best place to spot them is in the water bowl. So if your snake has mites, it probably will try and soak, whether you've seen it doing this or not, and some of the mites die and fall off in the water bowl, and that is the best place to spot them. So sickness is, it's last on the list, but it could be a big one, and it's always worth giving your snake a health check every couple of months anyway, just keeping an eye on it and weighing it. And I really hope you don't ever have a sick snake, but you always have to bear this in mind and be cautious and keep an eye out for parasites as well. So all that to say, you know, there are a few various reasons why your snake might be restless and might be escaping, but the main thing I want to say is that, you know, a lot of the time it is normal that your snake's trying to escape at night. They're a mostly nocturnal species. They will climb, they will try to get out, and if they haven't got enough food, they'll try to get to that food. And likewise, if they can smell the ladies and they want to breed, they'll try and get to the ladies. So what I would say is, I don't actually know what I wanted to say. Yeah, your job as the owner is basically to distinguish between healthy escapism and unhealthy repetitive behaviors that go on for, you know, days on end and day and night. So this is, obviously it's easier said than done figuring this stuff out. But if you've got any more questions, please do get in touch. And also please do like and subscribe, because the channel has started to grow quite nicely, and I'm really hoping to kind of carry this on and keep making more videos for you. Thank you very much.